All right, today we're talking about Drake, famous rapper, singer, and songwriter, former actor on Degrassi, and public figure who's recently been in the news over the last year because of his very public and entertaining rap battle with Kendrick Lamar. Thought it'd be a good time to look into his soul, do a nice little spiritual analysis. And to do that, we're gonna first look at his psychology, his mind, the mental aspects of Drake. Then we're gonna go into his soul, the more spiritual, energetic, and karmic patterns he's had in this incarnation. Then the alchemy, which is essentially just the transformation process he's meant to undertake in this incarnation to spiritually evolve into the best version of himself. But first, let's do the psychology. People pleaser. Drake is a people pleaser. This may not come to a surprise for some people, and it may come as a surprise to other people. But Drake likes to be liked. He really feels a deep need to have validation, approval from the public sphere and from other people. Now, as a human being, we all have this. We're social creatures living in a social world. I have this, of course, to a certain degree. Everyone wants to be liked. But with people pleasers, it gets to a point where you can tell that they are inhibiting certain emotions, certain feelings, and certain parts of themselves to be approved by others. And this manifests as passive aggressiveness and also a fake persona. We saw this passive aggressiveness with Kendrick, but we also see it in the way that he deals and maneuvers with other rappers he doesn't like through sneak disses. All rappers do this to a certain degree, but Drake is very prominent and very persistent with his sneak disses and attacks at former exes, and rappers, and people in the world he just doesn't like that much. This is a people pleaser property, right? It's like this desire to shape yourself into what you believe other people want you to be. And that turns him into a chameleon, which most people pleasers are. But Drake is a very good chameleon. He's very proficient at it. He's very good at transforming himself into whatever shape he needs to fit the situation. And he does this especially the best in his music. Some people call it culture vulturing or, sound biting. But whether you like him or not, his ability to take other people's sounds or to take, or riding a wave is second to none. And why he is one of the most, if not the most famous and popular rappers of all time. His ability to read the room, read the vibes, choose the right wave, and ride it well, is exceptional. So it has its upsides and its downsides. Obviously, the upside is that you are able to garner the approval of other people. You also don't have to start away from scratch, so it's more convenient and easier. And also, it's brought him a lot of success. But the downside, you don't really know who you are. He doesn't really have a stable identity. The most stable thing that I could identify from Drake is that he is obsessive and he has a deep hunger and obsession to achieve power and success and abundance and status. But most of all, approval from other people, validation. That's really what he wants the most. He's obsessed with getting approval. Whenever he feels like he doesn't get the approval he thinks he deserves or he truly desires, it kind of starts to crumble down for him. And that was very much on display with his beef with Kendrick Lamar because he was unable to stomach the idea that people would think that he's not the best rapper in the world, being called out by the best rapper in the world, in my opinion. So he's got this hunger, he's got this obsession, and it's gotten him into a lot of trouble with accusations of certain actions with people of a certain age. Also, the beefs he's getting in, he really is confrontational. It starts off as passive aggressive, but then it becomes more overt or getting in trouble for biting other people's sounds. He has this desire for more and more and more, and it's never really gonna be, it's a hunger that can't be quenched because it's a hunger that's based in the external when he needs to start looking more internally. And speaking of more internally, we can get to the chart. So when it comes to spiritual evolution in a particular incarnation for anybody, but in this particular instance, we're obviously talking about Drake, you want to look at the the south node and the north node, Ketu and Rahu, Ketu. The south node, keep messing that up. The south node is the part of the chart that you have the most karmic experience in, based off of your past life incarnations. So for Drake, that's Libra. Libra represents trade, harmony, equal exchange with other people, also social dynamics and social relationships. But mostly it's about, at its most basic level, Libra is about having something of value and having a need, giving that thing of value to somebody else, and receiving something in return that fulfills that need. That's what Libra is all about. So when you have Ketu, or the south node, in the third house of Libra, you have somebody like Drake, who is very used to exchanging with other people or relying on other people to get his needs met. He's very much a social animal. We're all social animals as humans, but Drake especially is very adept at finding what he has of value and giving it to other people. And it's an amazing skill that anyone can benefit from. And clearly, it's benefited Drake a lot, right? He wouldn't be so successful without it. He also has Ketu, south node, in the third house. Third house is our skills, it's our associates, our peers, competition, our will, our intellect, and techniques. Also, ups and downs, short-term, powerful effort. So for Drake, that means there's an over-reliance. There's a lot of experience, but also an over-reliance on Libra, but also third house things. This is where you kind of see he's got this competitive nature in it. He hides it well because of his people-pleasing nature, because he wants to seem agreeable, and he wants to make sure that the battles he gets into, he thinks he's gonna win. Third house is also strategy, so he's very strategic. He's very thoughtful. Everything he does, he's thinking about it a bunch. He's not just gonna jump into a situation without having analyzed it first and really thought through, okay, what am I giving up by going into this situation? What am I risking? What am I giving up? What's the cost? And then what's the return? What's the reward? What's the benefit to myself that I can get? And all people with Ketu, south node in Libra, third house, can relate to this to a certain degree. Rahu, the area of the chart where we are least spiritually developed, meaning that this is the part of his chart where he has had the least experience in past lives. The ninth house represents spirituality, philosophy, long-term spiritual goals, but also teachers and gurus and parents. Aries with Rahu. Aries is a self sign, very self-directed, meaning that somebody who has a strong Aries is going to be self-directed, they're going to be individualistic, and they're going to do things the way they want to do, forget everybody else. The opposite of this is actually Kanye West. Kanye West has his south node here in Aries, and I have a video on Kanye if you want to check it out on my page. So when you have Aries in the ninth house with Rahu, this means that Drake has a resistance to paving his own way or following his inspirations or long-term goals by himself. He always feels like he needs to have people around him or rely on other people, lean on other people, collaborate with other people, or make sure his label is supporting him in some way, as opposed to being very much creating a vision that's coming from him, not other places, right? That's where he's getting his sounds from other places, other people, instead of creating his own, like someone like Kanye West, who's very much more of an original thinker and creative. And then the ninth house, there is this lack of spirituality. It feels foreign to him, like he wants to be spiritual. He talks about spirituality. Whenever we have our Rahu in a certain area, whatever area that Rahu area represents, the house, the sign, we talk about it a lot. So Drake talks about paving his own way. He talks about God and spirituality and higher powers. But does he actually embody it? Or is it all for show? Well, we all have an area that we talk about a lot because we're trying to manifest it, but we're not really embodying that energy. That's why we're talking about it. So the fact that Drake has a song called God's Plan is not because he's uber religious, deep down, truly believes in God. It's because he wants to believe. He believes in God. He's trying to convince himself and other people that he is a God-fearing spiritual man, but there's doubts. Also, his sun is near Ketu. It's the closest planet there. It's at like 3 degrees, and Ketu's at, South Node's like 20 degrees Libra. So they're not in the same house or sign, but they're close by. And that means he's gonna have a lot of self-doubts. So he presents this image of like, I'm the man, I'm the boss, I'm the greatest of all time, get off my D energy. But behind closed doors, he's very much in his own head, ruminating, thinking about all the areas he's failed in life, all the places he can be better, all the things he can do better, and it drives him crazy. It's that obsession. He can't get out, he can't get the failures and the subpar performances out of his mind. And the beef with Kendrick was like the tipping point, because he had to be the perfect, undisputed #1 rapper. Any kind of shot, any kind of slight towards his way, he felt he needed to address, even though he was walking into a bloodbath. So with all that said, alchemy, transformation process, spiritual evolution stuff, what would the best course of action be for him? Guru. He needs a guru. Teacher. Somebody he looks up to that can steer him in the right direction. Lucian Grange, CEO of UMG, his label, one of the big 3 labels, should not be that person. I think, unfortunately, it is. When you have Rahu in the 9th house, you have people who can find teachers or gurus that are not the best for them. And there's a lot of reasons why Lucian Grange probably isn't the best for him or anybody, to be honest, unless all you care about is making a lot of money. But he needs to find somebody who can teach him spiritual practices, mindfulness, and actually guide him towards God. Because based off of a lot of the allegations and a lot of the things we've seen with the addictions and the behavior with women and people in general, he has definitely fallen far away from unity, source, spiritual divinity. We all have to a certain degree. I'm not perfect either, but he would very much benefit from a guru because of that Rahu in the 9th house. Meditation, he needs to be, there's different types of meditation. Breath work might be better for him. He has to experiment with different types of meditation, whether it be mindfulness or focused meditation, or even doing pranayama, or even different forms of yoga. But some kind of spiritual practice. So I could probably substitute this for spiritual practices as well. But because of this obsessive mind, and because of this constantly moving identity that he has, he needs to establish a core, strong, solid sense of self that isn't reliant on the external and interacting with other people. And the best way to do that, truly the only genuine way to do that, is through meditation. So he needs to find his form of meditation. Sobriety, goes without saying. He's got a lot of planets in Scorpio, and a powerful Scorpio means a lot of hunger, a lot of obsession. I have my Venus and Sun in Scorpio, so I can tell you firsthand experience. You have a lot of like this desire, hunger, but Scorpio is all about self-restraint. He needs to learn how to say no to things that do not serve him. And I don't think he's doing that to a high degree. So sobriety would be amazing, and also monogamy. Those kind of go hand in hand with this. Focusing on saying no, even though it can be difficult for somebody in his position, because he's probably offered all the things you could ever want as an addict and obsessive human being, because he put himself in that position to overindulge, but he's just overindulgent. He's consuming too much of things in the external world, and it's leaving him feeling empty. It's leaving him chasing more and more validation and approval because it's never enough. And he needs to slow down, find a teacher, meditate, cut stuff out, cut the substances out, and the distractions of all the women and stuff and just focus on understanding who he truly is, finding his core identity, his core essence, and accessing his true inspirations to come back and drop a fire album if he so chooses. So, if you guys like that video, really appreciate a like, subscribe, and also love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for your time. Cheers.